right, here we are, everyone. Pretty exciting day today. It is Interview Friday. I see the hummingbirds are showing up to view the show. Happy Friday. I'm in a place with blue sky and sun. Not used to it. Or is there something wrong? Is it normal? Is there something wrong in Palm Springs? Wow, all the way from Palm Springs. Ginny Sykes, yes, very excited for today. I am as well, because we have Marty Krofft on the show. Marty Krofft, of course. Throughout this show, Lunch Therapy, for people that have never seen the show before, this is called Lunch Therapy. Throughout this show, it started during the pandemic, when the pandemic started. And I periodically have brought up shows from the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. And I'm sure I will continue to do so, probably because it struck me at such a young age and continued through my childhood, the influence of these brothers, Sid and Marty Krofft, as I'm sure many of you experienced. So today, it's really cool. One of my goals for the show was to get one of these guys, Sid or Marty, to be on the show, and Marty has donated his time today to talk to us about the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. So let's get into the show. I've got a very, very long comment from Greg Wordla that I don't think I'll be able to post. Lauren is here. Loretta is here. Let's get into this. Lunch Therapy. All right, today we are going out to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and all the different places. So find us if you can, and also, share with people, because this is a really momentous occasion. Please share this around on Facebook. So, and if you chat on the show, we can put the chats on the screen from anywhere. This one's from YouTube. This is Mark Strugnell, fantastic musician from jolly old England. Ray Scanlon is here, comedian and he's talking from Facebook. Ganell is here. Holy, he's here from Twitch. So there you go. We're covering all the bases. For those of you who might be coming here for the first time, the show always begins with 3 deep breaths. So this is no exception, of course. So we're going to go in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. So this show is a mental break from whatever's going on in your world. And breathing is super important. There's Jeff Lohman checking in from Thailand. Great to see you, Jeff. We're going to have some Slee Stack action on the show today, because I know Jeff loves Slee Stacks. Mark Strugnell says, sorry, I've been absent. Had a COVID scare, but he's all good. Oh, thank God. Thank God you're all good. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. On the show, we like to explore the world of comedy. We have comedians coming along for the ride. On Monday, I'll be having a young comedian from the great state of Washington. Her name is Arajan Aramik. And she's going to come here, and we're going to have a good old time. So join us on Monday. We're all getting centered. Breathing is fundamental. Chuck says, cable guy is here to hook him up. All right. You don't need cable here. Hold your thumb on this breath, because it's going to ground you. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. let it go. I can't hold my thumb and run the machine, you know? In a former life, Jeff was a sleestack. I was a chaka. Breaking news, rumors, and Russell Wilson. I know. I heard about this Russell Wilson rumor. Let's try and keep the news cycle out of here. Russell Wilson, of course, the quarterback of the Seahawks. Loman, are you joining us in Bali? He's joining us from, is he joining us when we go to Bali? Yes, I hope so. Okay, so now we like to show animals on the show. Before I get to the interview, I want to help you with some therapeutic animal videos sent to us by a viewer, Todd Lee. This is his puppy Margot, who seems to have a pulp deficiency. What's
happening here?
What is happening?
Oh, Margot.
There's Margot. Margot's his new puppy. He's eating the paper. I don't know what's up. I guess the dogs really are into the paper over there. Okay, so now we're going to get on to the interview. We have everybody's here. You can chat during the show, during the interview, of course, because that's the kind of show this is. It's an interactive show, I guess. Yeah, it's an interactive show. And the only place I can't see comments is from Instagram, just so you know. If you need to go anywhere for social links, go to joelmarshall.com. All the links are there. But without further ado, we have Sid and Marty Krofft's representative here, Marty Krofft. And they've been producing shows for over 50 years. Some of the shows include, you know all of them, Pufinstuf, Lidsville, The Bugaloos, Land of the Lost, Sigmund and the Seamonsters, The Far Out Space Nuts, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, Pryor's Place, starring Richard Pryor. More recently, they had Mutt and Stuff. And these are just some of them, just off the top of my head. There have been many more. Some of them have been revived into new series like Electra Woman and Dinah Girl and Sigmund and the Seamonsters, and also into feature films, Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell. So this is one of the most prolific producers in the land. So we can all learn something from him, I think. Margot is too cute. What a cute dog. I think paper is the winter treat. All the wood is frozen. All right, so now we're moving on to Marty Krofft. Marty Krofft is a huge dog lover as well. He had a show, Mutt and Stuff, where they had something like 70 different dogs on the show. So here we go. My interview with Marty Krofft. All right, finally, here we are with Marty Krofft. It's so good to see you. How are you? And thank you for being on the show.
Well, this is exciting.
Yeah.
I get to do this without Sid.
Yeah, so you and Sid, when you interview together, does he interrupt you? Do you, I think what his complaint is that he tells fanciful stories and you tell the truth. Is that what happens?
How do you know this?
I've done my research. I've seen a few interviews.
Right. Well, we do. That's our act.
That's your act. It's good. I like it.
Get pissed off at each other and then we make up.
I love that.
Brother.
Where are you talking from right now?
The moon.
The moon. Wow.
Called CBS Radford.
Oh, that's cool.
We're in the studio. I come in every day. For the last couple of months, I pray a lot that I don't catch anything.
Yeah.
But it's pretty safe here. And they got some action going on here. And it's a great place to work.
That's great. I wanted to go back to your origin story. In the comics, they call it the superhero has an origin story, how they came about. And there's some confusion in my research as to where exactly. I know you came from Canada.
Or infusion.
Confusion.
Confusion.
Yeah, because I think at some point you or Sid said that you came from a long line of puppeteers. And is that true? Is it false?
Well, I'm the baby brother,
You are.
okay? So I've never met any of these people. And Sid has a wild imagination. So he's never given me their names or phone numbers. So I
see.
can't verify it for you today. But the long line that I know about is when I started and where I am today with you.
Yeah, you have a long line. You are a long line. You and your brother are a long line in yourselves. So the earliest one that I know is La Poupées, the puppet show that you took
Okay.
around. Tell me about that.
I'm going to straighten that out for you.
Okay.
It was called Les Poupées de Paris. It was our first big puppet show, adults only, wooden boobs, naughty pine, first class, played to millions of people, and got us launched. And Billy Graham helped us make it.
How did he help
believe it or
you?
not.
How did he help you?
We opened at the World's Fair in San Antonio. No, second fair. The World's Fair in Seattle. I was the first one to ride the Space Needle. And he came to see the show. And he didn't know what it was. So he had a big rally with like 20,000 people. And he said, don't go see a show called Les Poupées de Paris because the women don't wear bras. He never said anything about puppets. So in Time magazine the next week, the headline was, think about it, a dirty puppet show.
How did you now? So these were marionettes, right? How did you and Sid, were you the puppeteers?
There were like 15 puppeteers, but we had a show in LA at the time at PJ's, which was the first disco in the country. And we had the show up at Seattle and we switched. We used to come back and forth, but we had a bunch of puppeteers. The show was like, one of those big Vegas shows or the ones from Paris, the Lido or the Folies Bergère, except it's all puppets. So that was the thing that launched us, even though we'd been around before that, of course.
Yeah. So you had been around doing puppeteering before that. And where did you do it then? Yeah.
My brother's almost 10 years older than me. He was
wow.
He was a puppet act that opened up, first he played vaudeville and then he opened up for stars. And I joined him when he was with Liberace, and then we were with Judy Garland on the road. And, so we worked with Dean Martin. I mean, we worked with a bunch of stars. They always liked our act.
Yeah.
His act. Because it was consistent. It warmed up the audience.
Yeah.
So that's why they booked us all the time.
That is cool. So did you and Sid want to be puppeteers when you were kids? Or how were you influenced to do puppeteering?
Well, he was a puppeteer when I was a baby.
Yeah.
So actually when he went off to Europe, he left a set of puppets in New York. And so I put the puppet act together and I went out when I was about 15, 16. And I played clubs and went up to Canada, to Montreal. And so I was doing the puppets when I was a teenager. I guess I fell into it and he was into it.
He was into it. Wow. So then you designed.
To get up to today.
Yeah.
But then I took over. Right. So no, I run the place.
Are you more of the businessman in the pair?
Well, it's not more. It's just that's what I do the creative and I run the business.
Wow.
Sid has just been involved with the creative,
mm-hmm.
and
now
he's doing Instagram.
He's doing Instagram. That's where I saw him. I had been trying to reach both of you because we talk about you on our show a lot, just because we're so influenced by your work when we were kids, and it still is just completely fascinating to us.
Well, I did the show for one big reason with you. Yeah. I wanted everybody to know that I was alive.
That's right.
If you listen to his, you'll never know it.
I had been calling your office to see if I could get an interview, and then I was like, well, maybe they're just not doing interviews, or I don't know. And then I saw him on Instagram with David Arquette talking one day, and I was like, oh, they're still happening. So yeah, so I'm lucky enough to get you. I feel really fortunate. Now, the banana splits. Did you design the costumes, or how did that come about?
Well, that was done by Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
So Joe Barbera, I knew, he came to see me, and he said he had this idea for live action, and they never did it. And it was this thing that he already had called the banana splits. So I immediately got involved, created the characters, the costumes, and also, directed a few and got very involved. He used to come by, Joe Barbera used to come by and watch the progress and pick our brain all the time. And so we had a major input into that. But that was before we got our own series. Our first series was, Pufinstuf.
Yeah.
Of course, while we're doing the banana splits, the head of Kellogg's, the head of NBC, they would all come to our shop. So that ultimately the head of NBC said to me, why don't you do your own show next? Forget about this.
Yeah.
So that's how we wound up at NBC with Pufinstuf.
So you were doing puppets, and then you moved to, they're basically, what are they? They're live action people in suits. No more marionettes. There were no more marionettes, right? You just kind of moved.
We never got rid of the marionettes.
Yeah.
No, we had the characters, that you see in shopping centers, but we had them, refined, and we made it all work.
Yeah.
But we had puppets, and we had talking candles, and all kinds of stuff going on. So we never ever got rid of any of the stuff that we knew how to create.
Did you both create the costumes for the costume characters, like for Pufinstuf? Who created it?
Well, let me tell you, we had a shop.
Yeah.
With over 150 people who were working in it. Wow. At times over 200. When we built the park in Atlanta, the world of Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yeah.
We probably had more than 250 people. But, we had probably 15 designers. So when we created a character, we'd set them off to do their own thing, and then we'd take a look at what they did, and we kind of cherry picked it.
Yeah.
So, we were the ones that made it happen. But I cannot say that we created everything, just ourselves. Because if we say that's not true.
Yeah.
We had great young people that we brought in, and look, Walt Disney didn't create everything.
No, of course not. And when you're working on that scale.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
So was it the puppet show that got you?
I'm indebted to all the people who worked for us.
Yeah.
The thousands of people who worked for us all touched some part of what our careers are. So I always share it with them.
One thing I noticed too is that you seem to reuse actors in different shows. Whether it be Billy Barty or there's a woman named Baird that comes up all the time who's in a lot of the shows. And you also used a lot of comedians. Is that right?
Yeah, well, Baird was, I can't think of her name right this second. Baird was one of the Mouseketeers.
Oh, she was.
So she was in our shows.
Yeah.
The reason we use the people over and over again, it's real easy. We already have their phone numbers. Right?
Yeah. Sharon Baird, that was her name.
Sharon Baird.
Sharon Baird. She plays a lot of these different characters. And
Talent.
Billy Barty played a lot of different characters, and Billy Hayes as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Witchy
Billy
Poo.
Hayes is something. Witchy Poo. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were all talented in their own right.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to ask you logistics of how on the set of Pufinstuf. So there's a person playing Pufinstuf, and then there's also the person voicing it. Is that right? They're two different people.
Right.
How did you do that back then? Was the person off stage talking?
No.
No.
On Pufinstuf, that was our first series. we used the script supervisors to read the parts that they were acting on stage.
Yeah.
But then, we really stopped doing that, and we had the real McCoy doing the voices. And on some of the shows, we were on stage doing it, and some of the other shows we were in post-production doing it. They were not easy.
They weren't.
No, and it's a miracle that we're not bankrupt.
Yeah.
Because, of all the over budgets, right?
I heard you say that you had like 4 shows running at one time, and they asked you to do a 5th, and you said, "I don't think we can afford it."
No, what I said was I don't want to go bankrupt with a 5th show.
Want to go bankrupt.
That was not a great experience. I needed roller skates on that one.
I bet. So the character of Pufinstuf, I want to ask this because one of my viewers asked about this. The boots, I had those little white boots. Where did that idea? You'd think as a dragon he'd have these big feet. Instead, he had these tiny little white boots. Why do you think that is?
Well, that was the only pair we could find in the shoe store. No, only kidding. You know what? I don't know if they were that small.
Yeah.
But the white boots were part of the look. You see, you still remember the white boots.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right thing.
Do you think what about comedy, and was this a comedy first or a kid show first, or what do you think?
Well, look, we had already been around.
Yeah.
With Sinatra, with Judy Garland, and we were on tour and everything. So we had a lot of experience of being in show business.
Okay.
But it was our first show. So I decided that I had a very close friend who had done some major sitcoms. His name was Cy Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And Cy was, he was close with Lou Wasserman, who was the head of Universal. This guy was a special guy, very funny, whatever. So I brought him in on Just Puff. So I got him sucked in. He helped big time. He gave the show an extra tone, and funny. Some of those jokes still hold up today. Yeah. It's hard to get a joke writer. I gotta tell you, it's an art of its own.
Yeah.
And then so I stayed for 5 series. So I had a pal of mine come in to start with as a favor, and he wound up staying, being another producer with us, and he added a ton.
Did you ever appear in the show Pufinstuf?
No. I was close though. Yeah. I was about 12 feet from the camera.
Yeah, you were always right there.
Wasn't in front.
And then Jack Wilde became somewhat of a teen heartthrob, I think.
Right. Well, my brother went and saw Oliver on opening night, where he ultimately got nominated for an Oscar for as an actor in Oliver, as the Artful Dodger. And then Sid said to me, as usual, "I'll stay home. You go to London, you get him." Okay. So I always made all those trips. So I went to London by myself, got Jack Wilde. Then I made the mistake of being his guardian, and he wound up living in my house with my daughters and my wife and everything. So that was kind of a disaster.
No.
But Jack Wilde was great.
Yeah.
In the show, he's one of a kind, and so we always went after people we couldn't get, and then my brother would say, "You can get them, you go get them." So I think I had a lot to do with getting most of the actors.
The Bugaloos, when you started that, was that something that was inspired by the Monkees? Like, was this going to be a British version of the Monkees, or what do you think?
Well, the English invasion, on the world was the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where we decided to get Jack Wilde, and then we're going to get the Bugaloos together. So I went by myself to London and lined up about 2,000 kids in front of EMI Square in the middle of the winter and auditioned every one of those kids. So that's about how that happened. Brought them over to America. And all of our actors are still around. They still call, want to visit.
Yeah.
I know that I was told my brother had them on his Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's doing Instagram interviews. Pretty cool.
So he's never asked me to come on that thing.
I'm sure. The rivalry continues.
I can survive without that.
Yeah, well, you're on lunch therapy, and he's not. So there you have it.
I get a free meal. Are you kidding?
That's right. So, did you know that you auditioned the rock star Phil Collins, and he didn't get into the Bugaloos? Did you know that?
Well, I was the one that was there.
Yeah.
Of course, I knew that.
Oh, you knew it already.
Wait, Elton John's partner, he auditioned too. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah.
His partner, he credited me with saving his career by not picking him.
Really?
He used to send me tickets every time Elton would come to LA just to thank me for not picking him.
Saved me.
Right. But Phil Collins was there also. And there was a couple others that had made it. But, it happens all the time.
Did you think that was, of course, did you think that was a daunting task, though, to put together a band and then have hit songs? I mean, basically, you were constructing a pop band. And had you done that sort of thing before? How did you put that together? And was that a daunting task?
Probably done it with our puppets or whatever, but never like this. You know, so this was not easy to do this. I mean, we picked these kids off the street.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't like they were together for 2 years playing somewhere. So this was not we picked them because they had great personalities. They were what we were looking for. And the music came out, pretty good. There's still things, we still get calls on the music.
Oh, people sing those songs all the time. Yeah. People sing those songs. I found people on the internet covering those songs, playing those songs. So yeah. Right. So did you have a particular musician that you hired to write the songs?
I had Charlie Fox and Norman Gimbel, who wrote a small song called "Killing Me Softly."
It's a little one.
Okay. And he had done "Happy Days," Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, wow.
Had him there.
I wanted to ask you about Lidsville. So I had a memory of this show, but it was a vague memory of this show because I thought that the beginning of that show was also the beginning of Pufinstuf. And I just remember how scary it was that the kid goes to a magic show and then goes behind the scenes and he's nosing around trying to see how the magic is done, and he falls in a hat. And then he can never get out of this land. Did you know that you were terrifying us when you made this show?
We tried. I guess we accomplished it at times. Look, Walt Disney always scared kids.
Yeah. Okay, Sigmund and the Seamonsters. So Sigmund is a monster whose family is really mean to him. And did you ever work out any of your psychological traumas in your shows?
Well, first I got to work out the psychological problems with me. Yeah. And then I'll get to the shows. So I haven't gotten there yet. It hasn't been that bad.
Yeah. How do you come up with all these shows? I mean, obviously it's a super creative process. You've got a lot of people involved. But your shows were sort of, some people even say that you were must have been dropping acid, or you must have been doing some kind of drugs, because the shows were so creative and colorful and fun and out of the norm of what had been seen on television before. What do you think it is about you that?
You're talking about my brother, not me. I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if we did the drugs that people thought we did, we'd be dead today.
Yeah.
So you know what? You can't really do drugs when you're creating a show and producing it. I mean, the audience can be doing drugs, but not us.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't think we got that deep. But you know, you say, how do you create things? I'll give you the Sigmund one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to tell you my brother's story. So can't verify it,
Yeah.
but sounds like it could be.
Mhm.
My brother's sitting in La Jolla on a rock with a friend of his facing the ocean. So he sees the seaweed that looked like somebody in the ocean. So he went down and got the seaweed, put the seaweed in the back of the Corvette, named it Sigmund, and drove to the office, told everybody in the office, and then we were looking to arrest him. We didn't believe it, but that was the story,
That's
and
hilarious.
it's still.
Okay, so when you would go, I'm really interested in this because I think from what you say, visual things kind of spark creativity for you and your brother. And then you have to put that into a form that you can sell to the studio. How do you translate that to the studio so they go, hey, we want to buy that?
Well, you know, let me start with creativity.
Mhm.
The most creative thing is to sell a show to the network. Because if you don't do that, there's nothing.
Yeah.
All you have is a story, like most people have.
Right.
They have never sold anything. So that, you know, look, we've been in business for 50 years. It's like, let me see, it's like in the Guinness Book of Records that we survived.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody that's done kid shows in the 70s and 80s, whether it's Hanna-Barbera, Filmation, whoever, they've all either died, went bankrupt, or sold the company. So we never did any of those yet. And basically, even though I had great agents, and lawyers, I personally probably went and made every deal on every show we've ever done.
Yeah.
That's why I look 111. Right. Had to deal with all this.
Yeah. And so when you would go in, would you go in with a script or would you go in with, I understand you went in with some visual, like a book.
Yeah, you know, we'd go in with artwork, mostly artwork, and sell them off of artwork. It's hard selling off of a script.
It is.
They'll always find a reason not to do it because they can't visualize.
I see.
So the artwork really helps us. And, you know, then, I mean, we always use the artwork.
Really?
Even the latest show that I created, worked on it actually by myself, was this show with the dogs at Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
which was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in with 4 pieces of art and got the first pilot. They canceled the pilot. Then I got another pilot. And then we did 73 episodes.
And that's mutton stuff?
Yeah, that's mutton stuff. Yeah, with 15 dogs.
Wow.
So that was, we love dogs.
Yeah.
You can't mess with, my brother always said, you do a show with dogs, kids, and puppets, you can't miss.
Yeah.
When they hated puppets.
We love animals on this show, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and people love animals. Animals kind of rule the internet, as it were. Were you ever afraid that you'd take in something, you'd show them visually what it is, and then they'd steal it? Does that happen?
Well, that happens, but big toy companies like Mattel and Hasbro, you have to sign papers before you even walk in there.
Mm-hmm.
I always said, you know what, if somebody wants to steal something, you're not going to stop them anyway.
Yeah.
That was except McDonald's when they took us, they took all of our stuff on Pufinstuf. So I decided to sue McDonald's against everybody else's, suggestion. Don't do it, you'll never work again. So we beat them up good on that lawsuit, but it took 14 years.
Really?
Yeah. So if I wanted to sue somebody today, that would be ridiculous. I'd be 120 by the time I got the money.
Right.
So I'm not doing it.
Did they actually hire you in the beginning and then they like let you go and then they went ahead and did it themselves? Is that what
So
happened?
they had access, actually. The head of the company, Ray Kroc,
Mhm.
I knew him. I took him through Six Flags, and he wanted to do the puff and stuff a la, McDonald Land.
Yeah.
So he took the McDonald Land characters from Puff and Stuff, and the Mayor McCheese is Puff and Stuff.
He is basically puffing stuff with a hamburger
Right.
head.
Right.
That's
So that was
hilarious.
interesting. That took for 13, 14 years in the courts, right? Went to the appellate court of the United States. While there were prisoners walking into the courtrooms to the other judges, we were walking in with Puff and Stuff. So that was funny.
That's hilarious. Now
I have a question for you.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you call the show Lunch Therapy?
Well, I called it in the beginning, I called it the Myth Club, where it was like a story club. And then somebody said, why don't you call it lunch therapy? Because that's what you're doing. You're basically giving people therapy by distracting them from all the crap that's going on in the world. And so I thought, that's a very practical name, and it basically is what it is. So I decided to go with it. We find that, we find different ways because it's, with the pandemic and all the things that have been going on lately, I think it's good to have a little mental break. And so
Well,
that's what this is.
the pandemic has credit all by itself.
Yeah, really.
That is a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And also the news cycle is just so relentless that this is kind of a break from that. So it's just it's lunch therapy. I wanted to ask you about Pryor's Place. So Pryor's Place, you've worked with a lot of comedians, Charles Nelson Riley, all kinds of different funny people, Ruth Buzzy, just all kinds of people. And now you worked with Richard Pryor. How did that come about, and what was that experience like?
Well, that was, we needed a show then.
Yeah.
And I was in New York, and somehow I was with Jim Henson, and he asked me, what are you doing next? And I said, Richard Pryor. Was in the middle of the winter. And as he left the room, I said to myself, why did I tell him this? I don't have Richard Pryor.
No way.
Okay. So that was already a problem. Richard Pryor had a lawyer called Skip Brittenham that was a lawyer for me when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called up Richard when I got back to LA. I said, Richard, you got to set me up with Richard. Okay. I got a show for him, just get me in the room with him. So Skip had me come to Warner Brothers, and oddly enough, there was nobody there but Richard Pryor and him, and that was good. So Richard Pryor said, Richard Pryor's Place, okay. He said, okay, I'll do it. I was badgering him. He said he would do it, and then 2 days later he called, he ain't doing it. Then he's doing it, and he's not doing it. And he's doing it, and he's not doing it. And it was that bad.
Yeah.
So now I called up Skip Brittenham. I said, Skip, you can't, how are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
This ain't right. So now he finally said he would do it. And now we're building the sets. We've got a couple $100,000 in the sets already. They come to the studio, and Skip Brittenham says to me, Rich is sitting there, he doesn't want to do it. I said, we've already spent $200,000-300,000 on the sets. He said, don't worry, Richard's got a check in his pocket. He'll give you all the money back. All right. I said, I don't want the money back. I said, Richard, come take a walk with me. So I took a walk with him. I had known him years ago, earlier in the late 50s, when he was a stand-up. And so anyway, he decided to do it. And then, he drove me somewhat crazy, but he was a major talent.
Yeah.
And, there's a whole bunch of other stories you don't have time for.
Yeah.
But I got him to do the first season. And
why do you think he kept deciding not to do it and then deciding to do it and deciding not to do it?
I mean, look, he had a big drug problem before, He was sober. I'm sure that it had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And, and a very quiet guy for all his craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And, I bonded with him. I mean,
Yeah.
he called me at home every night. Not about the show, though.
Yeah.
Just bullshit maybe with me.
I get that he was a pretty sensitive guy, and that
very.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You hurt his feelings like in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
One time we were looking at a show on a Saturday, and one of the production girls said to him, "What are you doing here?" And he looked at her and he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm leaving."
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I get it.
What are you doing here? It's my show. That's why I'm here.
Wow. Wow. The show seemed kind of personal as well. I mean, he would come out and tell a story about his childhood, and then it would kind of play out.
Yeah. He wanted to do a part of like the grandpa,
Yeah.
which he did. He also said to me, this is the other, don't ever call anybody I know to be on this show. Don't use my name ever. Okay, I'll do that for sure. As soon as he left the room, I called up anybody I wanted.
Yeah,
and
like
I got some great stars.
you did. I mean, Henry Winkler and Robin Williams and Lily Tomlin and Rip Taylor and
Right.
John Ritter. It's incredible, really.
Oh yeah, I got everybody I mentioned his name on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
So anyway,
where did you shoot that one?
we shot that one. We shot at Hollywood Center, one of those studios in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a major studio? It's one of those independents.
How has it changed from the time you started to now for getting shows made and the process of making the show once you do get the show greenlit?
Yeah, you really want to know that answer,
I don't.
Because that answer is painful.
Is it?
It's not easy. Today it's a lot tougher.
Is it?
Yeah, because look, things have just changed. Everything's owned by big companies. I mean, we owned all the shows that we did in the first 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't own anything anymore. So if you want to stay in, you're working for your money.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. That's the way it goes.
Is there a lot more input?
There's great people.
Yeah.
In these places, talented people. If the systems are a little tougher, but we got some stuff going, which I don't talk about.
Yeah.
And so I just keep showing up. You got to have thick skin when you hear no.
Do you think basically you have to hear a lot of no's before you get to yes, even you?
Oh yeah, there are more no's than yeses. So absolutely.
And what do you do these days? Do you go in and pitch like you used to do?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's a little painful, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I do.
Yeah.
Actually, during this virus, I don't have to do this. I can be on Zoom.
That's good. That's good. And do you have to do any kind of digital presentation now too?
We do a little bit of everything.
Really?
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
You got to go with the times, but you also, the big thing of a show, as far as I'm concerned, is the writing and the stories and the actors. People come back to people they like. If Carol O'Connor and his wife that did All in the Family were in another show and they did those characters, it would be a hit because people love those characters. So it's real important to have special talent.
When you create characters, do you think, I notice on a lot of your shows, there's very specific hierarchy in the character relationships that go on. Say, just even Pufinstuf, Witchy Poo had minions, but there were certain levels, like one minion was over another minion. Do you think about in terms of that relationship between the characters and trying to make the relationships have conflict?
Well, the way you just described it, are you sure you weren't doing drugs when you were watching this show?
I think I was 6.
I think you've got a good spin on it yourself.
Don't you think? I mean, don't you think that when you put the characters together, it's one thing to have a great character, but then to put it together with other characters and create conflict, you have to have a kind of
evil versus good.
evil versus
There's
good.
always got to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
But we did bad guys with humor. Stupid bat,
Yeah.
okay, who hung himself upside down.
That guy
right?
was great.
So those are the kinds of characters, So, I mean,
I think you
having a
influenced me. I had on my show, I have a bat that hangs upside down and talks, and he comes on all the
that's
time.
copyright infringement. You're going to get sued.
I guess so. It's more influence. You've influenced me. But maybe somewhere in the recent, I didn't even realize there was a bat on that show. But then when I went back and watched a lot of your programs, there was the stupid bat hanging upside down in the tree. And it's like subconscious, this stuff is so in our subconscious that it affects.
You want me to believe all this now?
Imagine how much you've affected people and their creative process in the things that you've done. That I mean,
we have done that. We have done that, and we've been around a long time. We probably got 50 million fans out there that are dedicated.
Yeah.
That I can stop people in the street and they can probably 4 out of 10 can sing the theme song.
Oh yeah.
From 40 years earlier. Yeah. So, so that's really basically, then we've also stayed visible.
Mm-hmm.
And a fast story in early in the 60s, maybe 60 or 61, I'm having drinks at the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
With Tony Martin, Sid Charisse, and Judy Garland, and Sid Luft. And a guy walks over. Now, we had opened for Judy, who was my brother's act, and a year earlier. So, guy walks over, and it's Walt Disney. So he sits down, and Judy's husband, or Tony Martin, says, you were there to see Judy's show, opening night in Vegas, and the Crofts had the puppets there. So he looks at me, Walt Disney, says, I got advice for your kid. I was like 20 then. He said, the first thing is never sell anything that you create. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Then he said, now I'm going to tell you about something that's the hardest thing. Always fight for your name above the title. Because without that, no one knows who the hell is doing it.
Wow.
So, but he didn't tell me the most important thing, how to save my money. That's why I'm still working.
I think that's something that they should teach you in elementary school for sure. How to keep your money. Because regardless of how much money comes in, we all, it goes out just as fast. Okay, so I think that we're going to end the interview here unless you have something that you want to tell me about that I have missed. I just want to say that, the influence, like I said earlier, the influence that you've had in expanding our imaginations, bringing us joy and fear, and influencing us to inspire us, I guess, regardless of, our own fears and our own preconceived notions, is an incredible gift that you've given a lot of us. So, and that's one of the things that I wanted to say to you, because I realize now in looking back, the expanding of the imagination that you two brought to us as kids is something that has influenced, and you can't even measure it. So I want to say thank you for that. And I want to say thank you on behalf of your fans and the viewers of Lunch Therapy. You've been a huge gift to us, and I'm sure you will continue.
Well, the bad is I'm not done yet.
Yeah, you're not done yet. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Continue on. Maybe, maybe you and I can have lunch sometime and you can give me the secrets of producing, because I'm still learning.
Well, we get over this whole period of time.
Yeah.
I think that I hope it happens sooner than later.
Yeah, me too. Jeez. So thank you so much, and say hi to your brother if if you're on talking terms with him. And I appreciate you taking the time today.
Hey,
All right.
it was a great being with you.
All right. Great being with you too. All right. There it is. Marty Krofft, some really great advice there. Some really great stories. Priceless, priceless. All coming to you free from Lunch Therapy. A lot of thank yous out there. Thank you, Marty, for taking the time and being with us today. Inspiring, yeah. Jenny says inspiring, totally inspiring, and some really practical stuff there that we can all enjoy, and also some good memories, some great memories of all the different characters. I mean, who has a Walt Disney story? Not me. It's pretty cool. Been to the mountain. Everybody, yeah, welcome everybody. We have a dance break coming up. I hope that you dance them if you got them. I've got this great guy, Del Griffiths, who's actually in the chat room now. And I found him out there singing the Banana Splits theme song. Not a Marty Krofft production, but they designed the costume characters. So it's certainly appropriate to this. Great seeing you, Gil Harding. Fantastic seeing you. Chuck, everybody, thanks for being here. Pass this around because I think, it's something all of us can enjoy. Here we go. Dance break time with Del Griffiths.
Tra la 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 la. 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 One banana, two bananas, three bananas, four bananas make a bunch, and so do many more. Over hills and highways the banana buggies go, coming on to bring you the banana split show.
Thanks for joining us today. Lunch Therapy happening Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll see you next week.